Oh, a gift for you, my friend.
Oh, what's my gift?
A gift for you, my friend.
Oh, he hands it to me like this too?
There you go. Let's have my wife wrapped it for you.
Your wife?
Twinkle, be getting twinkle fingers on.
Twinkle fingers. Thank you.
It's how I have my espresso, too.
I'm gonna bring me a gift. It's in a box. Sounds expensive.
Listen, two things. That's the gift that keeps on giving, and it's going to change your life. That's a bold statement, right?
That is a
That's a bold
bold
statement. I can't wait to see what it is.
A label maker?
Nope.
A calculator? Oh, it's for poker!
It tells you all the odds of every hand.
My God! Should I use this while I'm playing poker? Or that's
Just keep it under the table. Keep it under the table.
Oh, good.
I saw it.
Keep a couple aces when we play cards, so I usually just now I don't gotta. I can cheat differently.
Absolutely.
Thanks, bro. You're welcome. Appreciate it, man. What's going on, everybody? I'm Dan the Realtor. 23% of Americans still think home prices will go down over the next 12 months. Layoffs in the mortgage business that will cost you money. We got the DMV real estate report, the real estate how to not, and we're going to jump into the comment section. Welcome to the Real Estate Wire, folks. What's going on, everybody? I'm Dan the Realtor.
Coach Marcus, what up, yo?
Today we got a special guest, the one, the only. Yo, what's your last name?
I don't even know how to pronounce
Ain't too special if you don't do his last name.
We got Carlo. What's up, Carlo?
Carlo Berioni. There you go. Close him up.
Yeah. Ah,
Oh.
molto bene, mio.
So it's not Carlos, it's Carlo.
Carlo.
And then,
Carlo.
so it's an Italian last name?
Yep.
He's Italian.
I messed it all up because I thought it was Carlos. I was like, oh, you thought he was Hispanic.
It's all good. Yeah.
Buen ragazzo.
See, that's perfect. Beautiful.
Bro,
Okay.
what?
Carlo.
Prego.
Yep.
Yeah, I speak like 5 languages, bro. I speak Ebonics. I speak that jive. I speak Spanish.
You speak PG?
Parlo Italiano.
Wait a minute.
I speak PG. Hablo español.
You speak Italian for real?
Parlo Portuguese.
I will say your accent's very good.
Yeah,
It's very well, exactly. It's very good.
So what's going on, Carlo?
All the good stuff, man. Just keeping busy. You know, just adding value in this market. I think is the name of the game. I think
Carlo's
that.
a lender. What brokerage or where you work, and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I've been a lender for a while. Been in the business for 25 years with Modern Home Loans. The parent company is Revolution Mortgage out of Ohio, but our office is in Timonium. And having a good time. Been at this game for a long time, just like Marcus. So we definitely hit it off right away because we have a lot of things in common. So this is a good time to be a lender if you're ready to add value and help clients. One of the things that I tell a lot of my clients and agents that I work with is right now the biggest challenge in this market that I find anyway isn't necessarily the rates or the lack of inventory, although that is definitely a factor. I think the biggest factor is misinformation, which is why I'm really grateful for you guys doing this because you always add a lot of great information that people can rely on, and I think that that's the main thing.
Bro, you hit a bar right there. I think the challenge, one of the biggest challenges, like you said, is just a lot of people are listening to the wrong people.
Yeah.
And they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that I think everyone who gives real estate advice, I think their heart is in the right space. It's in the right spot. Like whether it's our friends, family, coworkers, but it may be true for them. Like for example, if someone says, "Hey, you know what? You can't buy a house if you have student loans," that may have been a true statement for them, but that's not a true statement for everyone.
Correct.
So sometimes someone might just take what someone else says, especially if they value that person's opinion, and I respect that. But I say find out for yourself. Reach out to a lender, talk to Marcus or someone who you can talk to who can find out, whether you qualify and help you to figure that out. So definitely be careful where you're getting your information from.
Yeah.
One of the things I say is just because you're a parent doesn't make you a good parent. And just because you're a homeowner doesn't mean that you know what's going on per se, even though you're a homeowner. So
yeah. I think one of the biggest pieces of information that may or may not be true is the real estate topic. 23% of Americans still think home prices are going to go down over the next 12 months. And so this article starts off by saying 23% of Americans still think that prices are going to go down, even though the prices have done nothing but increase.
I wonder who they asked. Did they ask people that are currently homeowners? Well, people that are not homeowners.
Great question. According to the latest data from Fannie Mae, from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that's his sister. Roughly 1 in 4 Americans feel that way, but why? A lot. It says this article says it has a lot to do with all the negative talk about home prices over the last year. Since late 2022, the media has created a lot of fear around prices crashing, and those concerns are still lingering. You may hear a lot of people in your own life saying they're worried about home prices and or what they see on social media, and that some influencers are saying that home prices are going to come tumbling down.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't really seen that here in the DMV.
No, but you brought up, while you were reading that article, you brought up the most important word, which starts with an M, the M word, media.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've all been doing this a long time. Have you ever, because I haven't, and if somebody has seen it, I would like them to send me the link. Has anyone ever heard the media? Have you ever tuned in and the media is like, this is a great time to buy? Never. I've never heard it. I've never heard it one time.
Even during 2022, like when we had like 2% interest rates, they were still like, oh man, this is terrible. There's multiple offers and prices are escalating and prices are inflated. And it was kind of like, but now everybody's looking back and now they're like, oh man, I'm going to wait until interest rates go back down to what they were when they were saying we shouldn't buy. And it's kind of like, wait, they're saying you shouldn't buy now. And then they're also saying that you shouldn't have bought during one of the historically low interest rates of America.
Right.
So you're right. I mean, rarely do you hear them say on the news, today was a great day. A little old lady got helped across the street by some Boy Scouts. It was a beautiful. No, it's always we talk about this a lot on the pod. Negative news sells. I mean, our topic was negative. Like people think housing prices are going to crash. Yeah, and I guess maybe there's something in the human psyche where we just kind of attract to like dark negative news for some strange reason.
I think that's how we were naturally wired, because that's how it kept us safe many, many years ago. But that was like they call it the croc brain, and that's very different than making an educated a decision on what you want to do. But here's the thing: if someone thinks that there's going to be a market crash, I think that one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of lenders and realtors make is try to convince them that there isn't going to be one. What I try to do anyway is if someone says that there's going to be a crash, I don't disagree with them because I don't know that there isn't going to be one.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there will be, but that doesn't mean there won't. But what I do say is, how will you know that there's going to be a crash? Like, unless you're prepared. So a lot of times we realize there's going to be a crash. I'm like, well, why do you think that? And what will you do? And how will you know if there is one? And most people can't answer that. They're like, well, I'm waiting for rates to come down. Well, come down to what?
Yeah.
Or they're saying, well, I'm waiting for a crash. Well, define a crash. How will you know that there's going to be a crash?
I usually ask that question.
He'd be listening to us. It sounds exactly like what
I think it's just common knowledge. Like, what's your definition of a crash?
Yeah.
Right.
And I threw it out there like months ago. Like, I think we already experienced a crash. Like the fact that the rates went down to 2%, and then the market did what it did. That's what everybody thinks. Like, oh, the market's crashing. Things are not good. But things were like really good for us in terms of our business. Like, we were super busy, right? So it's not really a crash for us. I think the negative side in a crash is not a positive thing. So anybody that says something's going to crash, it crashed for them years ago because they couldn't buy a house. They were one of 50 people in line, right? So that's the negative feeling. They didn't get the house that they wanted. Now those same people potentially are going to experience this other crash that happens in their head and their heart because the rates have gone up. Right. So now I can't afford the house that I want. Right. There's not as many people, but now I can't afford it. And the prices are going up, rates are up. They'll experience a third crash if and when these rates go down. And then we have 50 people in line again. Yeah. And they are sitting at number 49 and contract number 2 is the one that got accepted. Yeah. So they're going to be like, man, I'll never be able to do this. So keep them, in a place of like misery. But like you said, misinformation is what keeps people from obtaining the blessing of home ownership, but if they get the right information from you, from Dan, from myself, then they'll be in better position at least to try to obtain what they're getting. Yeah, and to add to that too, because I agree with you, the thing is that if rates do come down, we could have a reverse crash, right? Where we're talking about people that are lining up, and the very people that they're trying to help with the middle class of lowering interest rates could actually hurt them, because if more people are getting into the market and driving those prices up. But again,
if someone thinks that there's going to be a crash, okay, but let me know where is the because we all know that in order for there to be a crash, there has to be inventory. So where's that inventory coming from? Because the main difference between now and 2008 is that in 2008 we were in the business in 2008. I mean, like people were literally handing their keys back to the bank. Why? Because their mortgages doubled and tripled. They had subprime loans. They felt slighted. They were very unhappy with the banks. And not only did the payments double and triple, but their home values dropped by 30 or 40%. So they were thinking to themselves, why in the world am I going to stress out to make a payment on something that's not worth as much as what I just paid for? Here you go. And they felt that they were taken advantage of. So they're like, here you go. Here are the keys. But here's the thing. They were able to go and rent something similar. Right. Now you have the exact opposite.
Right.
Because now you have people that have the lowest housing payment they will probably ever have. The last thing they're doing is not making that payment.
Yeah.
They will walk. They will lose their car. They will have they'll stop paying their credit cards before they lose a 2% interest rate because they know that if they lose that house, number one, rent is probably 30, 40% higher. And if they do go to rent, that nice backyard that they like and the basement that they like, they're probably going to go from a house to an apartment. So what I'm saying again is, where's that inventory going to come from? Now, there's some people that are like, you know where that inventory is going to come from? Airbnb. Sure. Because there's so many people that bought short-term rentals.
I heard Kiyosaki talking about that.
Here's the thing. I think that is going to have an effect.
Yeah, but it ain't enough.
But it
ain't 6 million Airbnbs out there.
Right. In certain areas, it absolutely is, you know? And then the other thing, too, that people say to me all the time is like, do you ever think that rates are going to be 2% again? And I'm like, I hope not. And they're like, why? I'm like, well, because I hope that we don't have any reason to go back down to 2%. I'm like, maybe you forgot, but the reason why we did have 2% was a very...
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It wasn't a good reason why we had that.
It was, I mean, in my opinion, it was one of the worst things that happened to the housing market, this 2% rate. You guys can argue with me if you want to, but I think it was too grand. It was too big rubber band rebound effect. Yeah. It was too big a drop. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it shot prices up way too much. If you look at the percent of home prices, for those who are still looking for, waiting for a crash, like you said, Coach, we already missed it already, which is Q1 of 2022. We had a 4.72% increase. Then in Q2, we had a 5.48 increase. Then in Q3 of 2022, we had a negative 0.46 decrease. Then in Q4, remember right around January when we had that, I'll put the chart up again for those of y'all who want to see it, we had a dip. And at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2023, we had a drop, percentage change in home prices of 0.46. Then in Q4, last December, we had a drop of 1.24. And then at the beginning of the year, in January, it started going right back up, 1.3. Then it went up to 2. In the second quarter, it went 2.1% increase in home prices. Q3 of this year, it went up 2% increase in home prices. So that's kind of what you just said, what we've been talking about, which is if you're waiting, whatever you're waiting for, like if you're waiting, it's cool. I've always maintained that. If you want to wait, cool. Let's talk about your strategy for moving forward if you're looking to buy. If you're waiting for interest rates, you can't have everything. If you're waiting for interest rates to come down, be prepared for home prices to go up. Be prepared for a highly competitive market, and be prepared to have some cash, right? You're more than likely not going to be able to get your closing costs taken care of. You're more than likely not going to be able to get. You're more than likely not going to be able to get any repairs on your home inspection, and you're more than likely going to have to go up on. You're going to have to escalate your price. That's in a low interest rate market. If you're saying I'm waiting for that to happen, even if I think I just looked, we're at 7.7 something percent interest rates or something like that. You guys are the lender experts. No, we were at 8 and then we dropped down a little bit to like 7.
It's under 7.5. The overnight average is under.
So if interest rates even go to 5, you said this a while ago, Coach. 5 now is like 2. Then if it goes from 7 to 5, be prepared for a highly competitive market.
And I'm gonna double down on that. If we go from where we are right now and the overnight averages started sitting like, they could drop down to like under 7. Right, because I'm not going to get into the weeds of that, but they could. Let's say they drop down under 7. That's going to be you're going to see like a small explosion.
Mm.
If we get under 6.5, like after what we've gone through,
Mm-hmm.
especially now, we're gonna be like, that's when you're gonna start to feel it's gonna be the tremor, right? If we get anywhere close to 6%,
Yeah.
that's when you'll feel like the earthquake.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. I'm gonna switch up, change the direction a little bit. What programs are out there right now for first-time home buyers who there? I was on a mastermind yesterday with some high level top producers, and we were basically talking about this new wave of activity that's getting ready to jump into the market, which is, you think about the average person's sales cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people take 9 to 12 months to really, from the time they decide I want to buy a house to the time they actually close on a house. It's usually 9 to 12 months, right? Whether they want to get their stuff together, they need to get their money together, they need to get the credit together, or whatever reason they finally push the button. From the time they talk to you or me and they say, hey, Dan, I'm thinking about this, it is about 12 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think from the time interest rates jumped up to this, from 5, was about last year, right? And then we went to this 6, 7, 8 range.
Mhm.
So there's an entire swath, an entire demographic of future home buyers that never knew anything about this 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% thing, that are now buying houses, right? They're locking in at 7 and 8%. They're fine with it, right? So the people who are 12 months out from today, they're fine with it. They know, okay, well, this is the number. And so they're not as spoiled as those people who got caught on the cusp, who just missed out on 2%, who just missed out on 5%, who are now just sitting on the sidelines waiting for the lottery ticket to pop back up. There's a new demographic that are totally okay with 8, 7, 6, 5. They're fine with it. They don't care. They just know that this is the price now. So what programs are out there for these people who either they're first time home buyers or second-time home buyers? What opportunities are available for them in this type of market?
To obtain what, a lower rate, or just first-time buyer program?
Yeah, to buy a house, lower rate, and then maybe to buy a house.
I mean, you have your standard, like your big four. You have your conventional, FHA, USDA, VA. Those are your big four. So for your, and there's a common misconception that there's one specific first-time buyer program. You have your big four programs, and then you have your first-time buyer sprinkles. So you have to meet income, requirements. You have to meet household requirements. You have to have you owned a property in the last 3 years. Those types of things. So you can add a first-time buyer nuance or kind of flavor to any of these four products a lot of time, and then that will give you money for down payment if there's one required. That'll give you that you may or may not have to pay back. There's grant money out here available that there's sometimes some stipulations on that. Again, you have to meet whatever this first-time buyer bonus or benefit is. It has its own separate set of qualifications that attach itself to the regular loan qualifications. So those things are out here and available. I mean, there's for your self-employed borrowers, you got, you probably experienced this as well, where you go to your bank, they're going to ask for tax returns, non-negotiable, right? On my side, your side, probably you can use 1099s and bank statements to qualify, right? There's so many programs, and I talked about it last week. Where Freddie Mac put out the DPA one, where you can access the website. You go and log in, register, access the website. It'll tell you state, county, city. It can filter it. Like you're looking for grant and you're looking for assistance. It'll tell you what programs are available in your specific area.
Yep.
There's all type of stuff. So it's a matter of getting on the phone, texting me, reaching out, DM, whatever, and hey, I'm a first time buyer. What? I don't know where to start. What's out here and available? And then you look at it and say, okay, this is what's available for you, and it may or may not be the right thing. Because sometimes the money that you need to benefit you the most is sitting in your pocket already. It's called your 401k or your retirement, or it's a gift from grandma, or you got a trust that you didn't even know about.
Yeah.
That activates based, that said, grandma said, I'll give you this. I got 50,000 for you, but you have to be 30 years old and you have to have, gotten married, and then you have to now be, like trying to get a home, buy a home. Okay, and your mom says you meet these 1, 2, 3 check boxes. Your grandma left you 50 grand. There's your money. There's your money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that's really important for home buyers, first time home buyers to understand is that there's a big difference between somebody who offers these programs versus somebody who has experience
That's a
closing these
That's a
programs.
fact.
Because that's the thing is that right now information is readily available. Anyone can go on to Google and find out information about different programs. I mean, we have buyers that reach out to us that are like, hey, I heard about this, I heard about that. And that's great and all. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like going to a restaurant that you heard is really great, but your experience is going to be based on who's waiting on you.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference. Or another analogy is if you have 3 people and you give them all the same ingredients, they're going to come up with a very, very different dish. And it's going to taste very different depending on the experience of how they're cooking.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of times when people are doing their research, find out that the person that you're talking to, do you have experience doing this? And then the other piece of this that I think a lot of first-time home buyers miss is that who you decide to work with is very important because buyers think that the only thing that matters in a transaction is what lender they decide to go with. But there's a part of it, and it's okay that they don't understand this because they're first-time home buyers. But something that I share with them, because I'll have some people that reach out to me and they're like, well, the only thing I care about is the rate. The only thing I care about is this. This is the only thing I care about. I'm like, and that's cool. But you know who is going to care about who you go with? The seller and the listing agent for that seller. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but if you see a pre-approval letter from a company that you can't get that lender on the phone, you can't talk to them, they have no experience, you can sniff out somebody who knows what they're doing versus somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Dude,
You want to call out anybody's name?
Yeah, I'm about to call out some names right now. No, I had a nightmare story. I'll let you finish, but I had a nightmare. I had two situations exactly what you're talking about. So I had a deal that just closed. I'll make the post on Facebook in a couple days or whatever. And the lender, who was brought to me by my buyer, I work with. We've done multiple properties, and I work with this gentleman every single time. And every single time he does the same thing, he's like, "Oh, I don't call the agents. I don't call the listing agents." And I'm like,
"Why is he giving me an accent?"
Well, that's a little clue for you.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm like, dude, so on this one particular deal, we needed an extension because this particular lender, not Marcus, not Carlo, did not tell us that we weren't going to close the day before closing.
Yeah.
What?
Right? And I'm like, okay, well, guess what, buddy? You need to call the lender. He's like, oh, well, you can just talk to the lender, the listing agent. Yeah, you can just talk to the listing agent. I'm like, I already spoke with the listing agent. And the listing agent wants to speak with you.
Yeah.
Mr. X, insert name here. And he's like, oh, I'm not comfortable. Da, 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 da. I'm like, whatever. You need to do this or your buyer is going to lose $5,000 and it's all going to be on you, bro. And I dropped it just like that and I just let it go. He called the lender, the listing agent, eventually. I had another positive situation on a listing that I have over in Northeast. And we put it on the market. Somebody submitted an offer that was lower than list price because it's quite frankly, overpriced. And so she called and she said, hey, here's, my name's, Betty Lou. I can't remember her name. She was a very nice lady. And I was like, wow. Like she called when they submitted the offer. And then she called me and I'm like, yo, who is this? She's like, yeah, just Cylinder, just calling to let you know. If you got any questions about anything, I want to explain the deal to you because I know it's a little bit below list price. Here's why we submitted it below list price. Here's why we need this 2.5% credit. We're doing a 2.1 buy down, da 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 da. And I'm like, 2.1 buy down, right? I'm like, oh, all right, cool. And then we started talking. She dropped a couple F-bombs. So I'm like, oh, you my people, right? You know what I'm saying?
You cussing.
Yeah, you cussing. Okay, well, shoot, I'm going to try to get you in there. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was just her vibe. Like she could pick up probably that I wouldn't be offended by that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that to your point, Carlo, is like, not just trying to find the cheapest rate, but if I'm a listing agent, which I am, and I can't get in touch with the lender, and it's the difference between your deal and some lender that I've talked to that I know that I feel confident can actually close this deal, so I don't have to go back to my seller with my tail tucked between my legs, being like, hey, it doesn't look like we're going to close, because it never rains down crap on me. Yep. So you're exactly right. Having an aggressive lender that actually reaches out to your listing agents when you submit offers is highly important.
And here's another thing too, is that for anyone that's listening that has been turned down or they've been pre-approved, but they haven't been pre-approved for the amount that they wish, one of the things that I like to share is that there's 4 types of companies out there. And a lot of times when people tell me that they've been turned down, I don't care the name of the company. I want to know what type of company they've been turned down, because that makes a huge difference.
Yep.
So there are lenders, there are brokers, there are credit unions, and there are banks. And even though they may all offer conventional loans or FHA loans, there's something Marcus knows as well. There's overlays. So someone might say, well, I went to a bank and I was turned down by my bank for an FHA loan, and they may not even think to call someone like Marcus or myself to get a second opinion because they don't know, and it's not their fault. It's our job to educate them, but I cannot tell you how many times I have been able to do a deal and agents will reach out, and I'm sure it's the same thing for you. They're like, do you have some secret magic program that nobody else has? Like, nope, it's FHA.
No,
They're like,
I can read my guidelines.
Exactly.
What I tell you? Loan
Yeah.
officers are what? What's the L word?
Amazing.
We are that. But the lazy thing.
Right.
Right.
They don't read the
And
guidelines.
here's the other thing too that I love is that when people are like, you get paid to do what you do. I'm like, exactly. And I don't get paid unless I do what I do. So I'm on your side. So I kind of shift that perspective, right? I'm like, and they're like, you know what, you're right. And I'm like, look, I get paid to help you. I get paid to figure this out for you. I'm not a yes or a no guy. I'm a when and a how guy. You want me to get paid to do this.
Exactly.
And then it shifts that perspective because you're like, I'm like, exactly. I'm like, so the fact that I do that and we do that is what you want.
Right. We only get paid if we actually do you a service.
Right.
And we help you,
And the benefit, think about this. How efficient and effective is any government program that you've ever engaged with? Medicare, DC housing voucher. Go to the freaking DMV. Like, the service is terrible because they get paid whether they do a service for you or not.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't care. Well, I get paid regardless. We don't get paid unless we actually do something for you. So yeah, that can be twisted into some unethical people will do things just because they just trying to get a paycheck, even if it's not good for their customer. We are not like that, which is why we even have a podcast in the first place. And if you're listening to this podcast, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Put a comment down in the comment section if you're listening on iTunes. You're exactly right, Marcus, about lazy loan officers. And I think that leads into the coach's corner, which there's been some layoffs in the mortgage business that could potentially cost some of our buyers some money.
Yeah.
What you got for us, Coach?
Yeah, so Carlo talked about the 4 types, right? Lenders, brokers, banks, and credit unions. And we already talked about, like, there are over 7,000 positions that are, layoffs, basically because the volume's down, you don't need the people, right? But like you said, I'm going to get paid regardless because I don't really care. And look, I'm going to call it out because I used to work at Navy Federal, and I know 100% that people were, like, just basically punting on their job, right? Like, so when the volume is down, you don't need that person sitting there. But right, from a corporation standpoint, but who does need the person that's sitting there? The buyer, the agents. They need somebody that's going to pick up the phone and be proactive and answer questions and get the job done, read the guidelines and do the things. So since between August and September, because now we're entering into traditionally the slower months, right? According to the Bureau of Labor, they're estimating that over 7,000 positions, people have been laid off over these last 2 months.
Is that a
right?
lot? 7,000?
August, September.
Just in the last 3 months, you mean? Or
August and September, 2 months.
7,000? Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you think about like how many lenders there are and how many employees you might
I don't know
have.
how many there are.
Oh, me either. But I mean, like,
But 7,000.
that's a lot. That's a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and how does it cost you money? Well, if you you apply with this credit union or bank, let's say, you got pre-approved, and then you're out here shopping. The market shifted, rates have dropped, or the rates have gone up. Well, that affects your pre-approval amount, one way, to the good or to the bad, right? You want to know as a realtor, hey, can we make an offer on this property? Because what if your ratios are tight? Well, if there's nobody sitting at that desk because they've laid them off, now you don't know whether or not you've got a strong offer in your hand. You don't have an updated pre-approval because it's been 32 days since you last, got that pre-approval. Well, now you're scrambling to figure out, is this offer going to be a good one? Well, if it's not, let's say you make the offer and it gets accepted, but the terms have changed internally with that loan. That person may not qualify for that.
Wow.
In order for them to qualify for that same type of loan, now they have to pay points, or now they've got to make more of a down payment. Now you got to say, well, paying points, I don't have any extra money for more down payment or points. So now you got to go back to the listing agent and say, will your seller contribute $7,000-8,000, whatever it may be, for this
And the
2-1
seller's like, nope.
for this 2-1 for this buy down,
Right.
right? And that now, and you get all into the weeds of that. It's going to cost that person money because that person in the seat is no longer sitting there. So that's why you have to have, and I'm an advocate of your retail space as well as the broker space. You have an advocate for someone who is legitimately working for you in a capacity where, like, we don't get a check, we don't get an opportunity to feed our families until we do a great job and serve you at the highest level. Because my seat is not in jeopardy, right? Like you and your security of your family is if I don't do a good job, as a buyer. So I just think that, when we look at how the market is changing and we've talked about it, retail and broker is the only way to go. As a matter of fact, and I'll add this on, I know some loan officers that have been working for banks, and the amount of money that they compensate them with, or they compensate them for actually giving a mortgage loan. Banks ain't really trying to do mortgage loans any longer at a high scale. They're interested in all the other things. When I was at SunTrust and BB&T, I can get a mortgage, but they also want me to, what's up with their checking account? What's up with their savings? What's up with their 401k? All the add-ons. That's what and banks are just trying to hold the money to, depository.
Banking, right?
Yeah, deposit it and withdraw.
Yeah.
The other arm of the mortgage, they don't even do that at a real good level, at a high level, right? But when you're working with retail and broker, now we're saying, oh, I'm going to specialize. I'm fully focused on getting you this mortgage loan to meet the needs of you and your family. So I'm going to bust my butt to make sure I do it. Not for the referral, but simply because it's the right thing to do.
I was about to wear my podcast shirt today.
Let me try to.
I'm glad I didn't. It would have been awkward.
Yeah, and and the other thing,
You flip it inside out.
in this market, a lot of times when you hear the word broker, a lot of times people have a negative connotation about it. And I'm saying this, and I'm a retail lender. I'm a mortgage lender.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great time to get with a mortgage broker because in this market, what's going on, and you can take that loan. You have somebody that can shop that loan for you. And like I said, I'm saying that as a mortgage lender, that it's a good time to go with a broker. And here's the thing: if someone's still like, if they belong to a credit union, that's fine. I understand why they might start their journey there because they're like, well, they have my car, they have my car payment, they have that's who I bank with, and all that. That's fine. And if you want to do that, but don't take what they say or don't say as the end all be all, because there's a lot of other programs that they may not even think to offer. And even if you are pre-approved with them, I cannot tell you how many times an agent has called me and said, my buyer's pre-approved with a credit union or a bank. Can you take a look at it? And listen, I have no exaggeration where somebody came to me pre-approved 200, I got them approved for 400. I'm not saying they should spend 400, and because somebody might, because like whenever you're talking to like, oh, well, here you go, try to get somebody to spend something that they can't. That wasn't the point. The point was get more information, talk to somebody else about it, and then that way, because not everybody has all the same programs, and not everyone understands the guidelines or knows how to read guidelines or interpret guidelines.
So you're a lender or you're a broker?
I'm a lender. Marcus is a broker, and it's a great time to work with a broker. I'm a direct lender.
A bunch of different lenders. So Marcus can shop you. Like he can sell.
I can't shop him because I'm not signed. We're not.
Yeah, we're not. We don't have a wholesale division. So being a direct lender definitely has its benefits.
In-house something.
We have in-house underwriters and things like that, but it's a great time to be a broker right now because and it serves the client. What I'm saying is, if you hear the word broker, you should actually be thankful for that. The same way that people are like, oh, well, you get paid to do loans, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The same way if they hear, oh, that they're a broker. And I say that also, by the way, and again, I'm a lender. Agents should be happy because sometimes agents, you probably hear this, are like, oh, you're a broker, like, oh, you don't close in your own name or whatever. Like right now, if you knew what you were talking about, it's a great time to be a broker.
Yeah.
So,
and at the end of the day, like, I'm just gonna say it. Who cares, right? Like,
you taking my line.
Who cares? Right.
Who cares, bro?
It's like, and from me, because like we're serving people, right? And one of the things that I would say, like, oh, give the spiel about in-house underwriting and all the things that I would do, but then like when they would say, oh, you closing loans in your own name, it's like I'm trying to be all things to all people, but at the end of the day, like when I served the client at the highest levels that they could not believe, like, how did you get this loan done? Or how, like, you calling on a weekly basis and you touch, there's some touch, touch points or whatever, pause. But it's like, it's like, yo, and we delivered the loan on time. We cleared close early.
Mhm.
Like all the things. At the end of the day, who cares? And there's so many more benefits that I'm not even talking about, but it's like, man, just do a good job. Like, and as a loan officer, I'm appreciative of how you shouting out, even on my side, because there are, like I was saying earlier, there's always this competition of the who's got the biggest and best in the room or whatever, who's the alpha, whatever. And that's not, there's enough out here for all of us. And competition happens when you're at the bottom, right? Collaboration is when is up here.
Well said. I agree.
And I'm like, yo, I'm glad to know that I come from the lender space. And I'm glad to know, a man like you, because there's loans that I'm not highly proficient in. But I know if you're doing MMP, VHDA or whatever that I used to do, I'm like, hey, I know a guy who knocks this out the park. Holler at this dude. I'm cool with letting the right deal walk,
Yep. The other thing, if we could back up just for a minute, and I think if we take this direction just for a little bit, it'll really help anyone who might be thinking about being a first-time home buyer. And what I say is, like, because a lot of times the question that I get more often than not is, should I buy a home or wait? And I think that the first question that anyone should ask themselves is, do you want to own a home? Like,
right.
Question number one, like, do you even want to own a home? And if you don't, that's okay. We obviously believe that home ownership is the way to go for a multitude of reasons. We have data to back it up. But if somebody doesn't want to own a home, that is okay. So the first question that I ask someone is, do you want to own a home? What typically happens is they'll give me all the reasons why they don't think they can. And I'm like, I got you, but that's my job, is to help you with that.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I just want to know is, do you have a desire? Would you like to own a home? And if the answer is yes, then the next step is, well, you shouldn't be asking me whether you should buy or wait. Can you qualify to buy a home?
Right.
So let's go to step number 2. Do you qualify to buy a home? Because even if you want to wait, at least know if it's an option.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is, if you do qualify to buy a home, do you qualify to buy the home that you want? So that's kind of the progression, because I find that a lot of times people are asking the wrong questions. They're not really figuring out where it is that they want to be. And the other thing too is that if someone can get real with themselves, if you don't own a home, what's the real reason? I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help. Because the thing is that, like, ask yourself, in 2020, 2021, when the rates were at historic lows, did you talk yourself out of it then? Because what I have found is that someone will always come up with a reason not to buy a house no matter what's happening.
Sure.
Is that fair? Like, they'll say, hey, look, okay, well, the rates are low, but there's overbidding, right? Yes, now rates are high, and there's also and the values are still high.
Yeah.
But the thing at the end of the day is that I would argue, and I don't like to use the word argue, but I would be curious. I think it's a better word. The 1 in 4 Americans that think that there's going to be a housing crash, number one, do they know why they think that?
Right.
You said because they're watching the media. They're not making a decision for themselves. And is it giving them a socially acceptable reason to not buy a house and avoid
I
fear?
think you said this last week. Every single person that I followed up with over the past 10 years of my career that bought a house, none of them has said, damn, I wish I never bought this house. They're all like, yo, thanks, bro. Here's my cousin. Here's my Aunt Susie. Here's my uncle that want to also buy a house, because they're seeing the benefits of it.
Absolutely. And the other thing, I love how you explain that. A couple things when it comes to first-time home buyers. The first thing is to empathize where they're coming from,
Sure.
and to let them know that it's perfectly normal to be scared. That's I think
where they should be.
If they should be, right? And I think the other way to really help is to relate it to something else that they have experienced fear and they've overcome that fear and they made it on the other side, and it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to them. Because buying a home is a lot like having kids. You're never really ready for it. It's scary as you know what. But the thing is that after you do it, you couldn't imagine your life not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And, if someone says, well, hey, you know what, I don't have kids. Well, then another thing you could relate it to is anytime that you've ever overcome anything. So that's what I try to do when I'm talking to my home buyers is find what is it that happened in their lives where they were really scared. They made it through on the other side and they're happier for it. Maybe even to some extent, it's a much smaller extent, but like buying a car. And I asked them, I'm like, when you signed on that dotted line with that car payment, you were probably freaking out, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh my God, like I was nervous. I was sick to my stomach. It was horrible. I go, but now I go, that payment that you're making on that car, it's kind of like it's falling into your budget. And I'm not here to talk about like, it's not about that. I'm just talking about the feeling of being uncomfortable and doing something that does not feel right. It shouldn't feel right. You've never done it before.
It's new, right?
It's new. So if you can put that fear aside and do it. And the other thing too, which is why it's great to work with great agents and great lenders, is because the other thing I say to them, I'm like, have you ever been on a plane? And most people are like, yeah. I'm like, well, turbulence feels really, really scary if you don't know what it is and you're not used to it. You might feel like, I remember like when I was a kid, the first time I felt turbulence, I thought the plane was going down. But to the pilot, like us that have done it, it's part of the flight.
Yeah.
Right.
It's part of the flight. Like there's no need to freak out or whatever.
I mean, it's like that deal we had. I don't want to go too deep into it, but
right.
It was like every single thing that happened. Like, okay,
he thought the plane was going down,
right?
And you and I were just like, bro, we're still landing.
Now, mind you, most deals only have like one of these things happen.
There was a lot
per
of
deal.
There was a lot of turbulence.
It was literally like every single turbulence that could possibly happen.
Oh yeah.
But it was also like every single thing that we're doing. There's a solution to each one of these multiple problems that you're causing for yourself.
Yeah.
One, listen to us, and two, fill this piece of paper out. Sign this. Go get that. Like do that. There's a solution to every single problem.
I do want to say something though, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, but I will tell you this: for those people that don't know you, you were totally calm under pressure, and you need that in a real estate transaction. And you were the epitome. You never ever you were totally chill with listen. I'm gonna call myself out. I got heated a couple times. But Dan, I got to give you props. I normally try to say pretty cool, but I'm like, you're like, bro, dude, cat, you're losing it. Like, you're like, you were totally chill, and you need to be that when you're doing a transaction of that, because the thing is that like if the pilot's not cool, then the passenger's dead.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you have turbulence and you got the pilot running out? We're going down. Well, you were chill. You were chill.
Yeah, that was a good deal.
You were chill.
We were beefing, bro.
We were.
We were beefing because he was like, you know what? I don't need this, man. Da, 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 da. And I was like, I was sitting in my car. I remember where I was. I was showing houses. And I said, I'm going to let this man vent because I get it. And he was screaming like, da, da, da. I was like, bro.
You were chill and you deserve credit for that.
I was like, bro.
And I want people to know how calm
I was like, give me till Monday. Just give me. Don't do anything right now. Let's talk on Monday. Can we talk on Monday? He's like, all right, fine, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And listen, I will call myself out anytime. Like, listen,
it was understandable, bro.
Do you ever watch? You guys know who Tony Robbins is?
Mm-hmm.
You ever watch on Netflix? He has a documentary that came out like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. It's called I'm Not Your Guru, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget this one scene in his documentary where this young lady stands up and she's there. A lot of people that go to see Tony Robbins, like they're trying to have like a breakthrough. They're going there because there's something in their life that they want to address. They want to improve their lives in some way or whatever. And I'm a big Tony fan, but that's not the point. But the point is that she stood up and she was talking about all these issues in her life. And one of the main issues was her father. Okay. This young lady's mother was there. So the mother stood up and was just bashing the ex-husband. I'm talking like just laying into him or whatever. And Tony's like, look, if you're going to give him credit for all the bad stuff, you got to give him credit for some of the good stuff too. And I just want to give you credit because you totally stayed calm that entire transaction. And somebody may not know that just by looking you up on Google. And I know that you're not one to sing your own praises, so let me do that for you. So I just wanted to acknowledge you on that.
You killed that deal too, straight up. Because I even brought Marcus in. I was like, Marcus, I might have to pull you in on this deal because it looks like this other lender, he's just done. He's like fed up and it wasn't because of you. It wasn't because of you. It was just because of the buyer. He was just taking us through a whole bunch of stuff. But you got it closed, bro. You got it done. And we had like 8 curveballs. Again, most transactions may have like 1 or 2 here and there.
8 curveballs that you were aware of. Okay, because Marcus will tell you, you don't know the stuff that we do.
There was a lot of stuff I know. You were like, yo, I'm not going to lay this on the realtor. Da, 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 da. You were just telling me this stuff, and you got it done, bro. And I was like, all right, this dude's solid, yo. This dude's solid.
Good, man. We had a bonding moment over that transaction.
Yeah, bromance, bro.
Yeah, bromance.
Let's get into the DMV real estate update market report. I change the name every week. Sometimes it's the
I like it.
The DC market report. Today is the DC update market real estate report. So we're still waiting on the August number. We're still waiting on the October numbers. So we got the September numbers. Like we talked about, we're down. Listings, we're down from this time last year, 33%. We're down on new pendings, 15%. We're down on closed sales, 20%. And we're up on the sales price from this time last year, 4.4%. So we have less listings, less contracts, less closings, increased prices. So those who are still waiting for prices to come down, that it could happen.
Yep.
If prices come down, great. If they don't, that's cool too. Like we always say, buy according to how much you can pay per month. Don't worry about the list price. The list price can change. But the monthly payment is what you really want to focus on.
Yeah.
So if you could buy an $800,000 house for $2,400 a month, sweet. If you can buy a $500,000 house for $2,400 a month, sweet, because your budget is $2,400. So that's what we encourage our buyers to focus on. Focus on your pockets today, not future values of what you think could happen tomorrow.
Yeah, like one of the things that a lot of buyers might hear is the meme that, in my opinion, I'm not a fan of, where it's like, marry the house, date the rate.
Yeah,
I hate it because you don't know, because dates go really wrong. I've been on some bad dates. Granted, it's been a long time, but I don't like that. You have to be able to afford what you can afford right now, and you need to be able to sleep at night. And you don't want to stress out about, can something happen in a future date? Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, two points I just want to make. Number one, there's a big difference between a housing crash and a transaction crash. Right now, we are in a transaction crash, and it can benefit a buyer because there's not as many of you. You are the hot chick at the bar right now. If you're pre-approved out there, or hot guy, whatever you want. But at the end of the day, what I say is, like, if you're a first-time home buyer, why are you, like, give yourself credit. Right? Like, rather than beating yourself up about the fact that, like, I should have, I would have, I could have, I'm like, okay, we have now. But right now, like, if you're a first-time home buyer, you can put a non-contingent offer in. You don't have another house that you need to sell. That's a beautiful thing. And if you qualify right now, you possibly could get some seller assistance. Now, some people might be listening like, well, not if it was just listed. I got you. Okay? But the thing is, look at the positives, look at the great things that you can do with what it is that what you have, and at least get that information and figure out what you do qualify for and see if you can get into something, because there's always opportunity out there if you're ready to go. Now, the other thing too, sometimes people avoid talking about renovation loans, and renovation loans, in my opinion, it's a great opportunity. Yeah, they're a pain in the ass to do. Let's be real about it. But there's some houses that a real estate investor, it's too expensive for a real estate investor, but someone who doesn't understand that you can get the money to fix that house up the way you want. You now all of a sudden, how many buyers walk in, and you're a listing agent, and I get that, but how many buyers walk into a house and are like, wow, this is dated. I'm not paying this for that.
No, I got a bunch of properties on the market right now that are perfect for 203K. Me and Marcus did 2. We did 1 earlier this year. Renovation loan. And they're dope, especially in this type of market where it's like a lot of listings are overpriced. I got a bunch of them that's overpriced. You as a buyer could come in, above where an investor is going to be able to come in, because an investor got to flip that money. They got to flip the house and they got to flip that loan.
Right.
So they have to come in at a certain number where you as a happy home buyer, you don't got to come in at that investor number. You can come in a little bit higher because you're going to live in it.
Yeah, but you also have a seller that knows that it needs a little bit of work.
Exactly.
They don't need. They're not going to have some wholesaler come in there or some house flipper come in there and listen to that number.
Right.
But that's beneficial if they do, because then you set the bar, right? Because now you're talking about, like, if they've already been told that number, like we should almost have a wholesaler offer them something so that when they come in there and they offer it, but there's an opportunity for them to now reframe their situation. It's like, this is a great opportunity because now I could go to a lender or broker and you guys can help me get the money that I need. And here's the other thing that most people miss, and Marcus knows this.
If you drop the sauce, go ahead and drop the sauce. I know you're gonna do it. Go ahead and say it.
What's that?
Go ahead and say it.
I'm hoping that, well, if I say something that's
No, go ahead and say what you're gonna say. Keep going.
when you do a renovation loan, you can defer the payments for 6 months.
I knew we were gonna drop it.
6 months.
I knew
Why
it.
is that important? Here's why it's important. Now, look, you can focus on all the things that are wrong in the market. You can focus on the 8% rate. You can focus on it. Or you can get with some people that want to help you to think a little differently, because let me tell you something. Nobody made a lot of money doing what everybody else is doing.
That's a fact.
So, right, no one did. No one did. If you reach out to anyone where they're like, you know what, I killed it. I did what everybody else was doing. So if everyone's on the sidelines, not doing anything because they're waiting for something to happen, why don't we take a look at what you could do right now? So think about this for a minute. Historically, I've been doing this a long time, and I know Marcus hasn't, I know you have. Going into the winter, which is the time we're doing this podcast, is a great time to pick up a property.
Yep.
And you might think to yourself, well, you know what? Yeah, but my lease isn't up for 6 months. Well, guess what? You can close on that and you can defer those payments for 6 months. You don't have to break a lease. You can fix it up the way that you want and get into a property and buy something now. So, but the thing is that, and if you learn something with that, that's great. Think about all the other opportunities with some other programs that are out there that you may not be aware of. So I have a phone call.
I got you got your charger with you?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I can run in the house. My battery about to go dead.
On your
Laptop? Yeah.
The other day we were doing a live. I had 250 people on the live.
Sheesh.
Phone dead. Just boom.
Oh, we're dead.
It just dead. I learned that lesson very quickly. I'm like,
well, I normally have it charged, but
Yeah.
I didn't. You know how it is. Yeah, that's a bar, bro, and I love it, man. Let's get into dad jokes. We should come up with a theme song for that.
You said do real estate hot or not.
That's real estate hot or not. We're doing real estate hot or not dad jokes version.
what I'm going to do is
Oh, right, you're right.
I'm going to listen. I'm just going to try not to laugh.
No,
because
you gotta participate.
I got to find some dad jokes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, got
Alright,
it.
So this is what it is. So we're gonna get into the real estate hot or not. But you gotta say it with us.
Hot or not.
Yeah, you just say the or not part.
Could I add a mom joke? I have a really good mom joke.
Yeah, but we're gonna do the real estate hot. Okay,
Okay.
right? Yeah, follow the program, Carlo. All right.
Got it. You got to get with it.
We're benevolent dictators here. All right, here we go. Let's get into the real estate hot
Or not.
Yeah.
There we go.
You added a little inflection on yours.
He
I like
did.
that.
He did.
It's just I'm like
Brought Italian.
I'm like Howard Stern, WNBC.
Uh-huh.
Brought diversity into it.
So here are the rules. We go 5 rounds. Whoever laughs loses. The one who does not laugh gets a point. First to 5 wins the game. I lost last time, but I will dominate this time. Who's going first? Me?
Yeah, you got to. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Can't laugh.
All right.
I'm not going to look at Carlo because he's goofy looking. All right, here we go.
You're making me laugh already. I'm not going to say anything.
All right, here we go. I'm clearing out all my laughter. Here we go. This is a real estate dad joke.
Okay, let's see how it works.
So, Carlo. If you ever get locked out of your house, talk to your lock calmly. Communication is key. Key.
Pretty nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
Your turn, Marcus.
Yeah. When two vegans get in an argument, is it still called a beef?
It's good.
All right.
You all right, Marcus?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw in a mom joke if that's all right.
He's still ain't. He's still.
You laughed.
I'm
That
laughing
doesn't
like he
count.
still
That
ain't following
doesn't
protocol.
count. Dan, I know. I'm switching things up.
All right.
But the next one
All right.
will be
All
a
right.
dad joke.
All
But
right.
you're gonna like it. It's very fitting.
All right, let's go. Let's.
All right, Dan.
Carlo.
Why do Italian teenage boys
Oh,
have mustaches?
I don't know why.
Because they want to look like their mothers.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Marcus.
Yes, sir.
A lady suspects her house is haunted and converts it into a tavern. She was possessed by the entrepreneurial spirit.
You lose. You lost.
Okay, fine. So it's 1-1-0. No, I got 1-2. I won that for. I got it round. All right. Well, let's skip the comment section for today. We'll do comment section next pod. I want to ask you one question because we got to get out of here, Carlo. We asked this question to all our guests, most of our guests. Where do you see real estate and the role of real estate agents where do you see real estate and the role of real estate agents 20 years from today?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I can tell you where I see agents right now. Only the good ones are going to make it. Only the ones that are going to add value. The rest are going to be gone. And this, I don't know about 20 years. I say it all the time. I'm not in the prediction business. I'm in the lending business. If I were in the prediction business, I would be doing something else. I do know this. A lot of people that reach out to us right now, and I'll get back to the agent business. I think we shared a lot of really good information and a lot of statistics and a lot of percentages and things like that. But all of the home buyers that I'm working with right now, not one of them has called me and said, I'm buying because I heard that sales are up or down by X amount, or rates are this or rates are that. What I have heard is, I'm done with my landlord, or my house got broken in for the last time, or I need to be in a certain location for my kids, or my mom's getting older. I need to find a place for her to stay. So I don't know what's going to happen 20 years from now, but I do know that life is happening now. And for a lot of people, they need solutions today. And although I do believe that AI is going to really factor into what we do, right now, they need somebody who can help them solve a problem today. So hopefully that answers your question.
I love it.
Really
I
good.
love it.
We're good.
That wraps it up, man. Thank you guys for jumping on to the pod. If you're listening
Appreciate y'all.
on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, share this podcast with anybody that you might think is dope. Make sure to hit that notifications button so that you're the first to know when we drop new content. Carlo, where can they find you, brother?
I at TikTok at The Helpful Lender, or on YouTube, my name, Carlo Berioni, Bernoni, but mainly TikTok. I go live every day and answer questions at The Helpful Lender.
We didn't talk much about your TikTok, man. We'll talk about it the next time you come on the pod.
Awesome.
Where
Looking
can they
forward to
find
it.
you at, Coach?
Instagram at Mortgage Coach Marcus and at Fields Mortgage Group.
And I am Dan Wheeler, Sells Homes on all platforms. For all of us here at the Real Estate Wire Podcast, we are out. Solid.
Cool, man. You guys are great. That was awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Dropping mad bars, bro.
Yeah.
Mad bars.
Shit on every day go live.
Yeah.